Hello, it's Thorn. I use he, him, his, and I've completely forgotten what number of episode we're on, but you'll see it in the title screen. So, welcome to the Midnight Ballroom. First, this is my co-goat, Banros, little beanie baby goat with sparkly horns and hooves. And I like to do visual image descriptions, or verbal. So he's wrapped in a sort of autumnal rainbow scarf, which is now a goat blanket. And speaking of things for goats, I've been sewing a lot, and I won't be showing a lot of it because that feels a bit overwhelming right now. Though I did show some on my other channel. I'll put that right here. But I made a little pillow for him out of some of the scraps which I stuffed in here. This is sort of a blue brocade fabric, blue purple, and it's very pretty and shiny, and I love that he gets to sit on there now, and he doesn't have to sit on my coffee coaster on top of the unlit candle. So it's a coaster that I got from Cracker Barrel, actually, last summer, and it says "Forever a Mermaid." And the candles from Target during Pride season, I think last year. And I decided that I needed to go ahead and burn it up so that I could use the jar because it has a nice rainbow sticker, rainbow ice cream cone sticker on it. So it's in the bathroom now, but I forget to light it a lot, but I should do that more because, well, we don't want to go into detail on that. Anyway. It's nice that he has a nice little seat now. Let's see, what else? Right. Coffee break. Oh, cool. You can see my Death Wish coffee sticker right here on my cupboard. That has to do with the auxiliary mug, but today's primary mug is this one, this red glazed ceramic mug with the chip in it, which I've told the story of that before, but it has a face etched in it, and it just feels very like Minoan art style, even though my mom got it in France. By the way, I'm not going to try to be super obtuse or anything, but I'm pretty low energy right now for reasons I might touch on later, so feel free to ask any questions if you don't understand something or didn't catch what I said. The description box and my verbal explanations of things will be pretty minimal this time. But yeah, just wanted to let you know. But anyway, the auxiliary mug. Oh, my basket of things just fell down. That's what that was. It's actually one of the Death Wish mugs, which my friend Vivian got me. This is also ceramic and looks handmade, except it's black and sort of grayish green at the top. And there's a little stamp on it with the Death Wish logo and some kind of swamp creature drinking coffee, which, mood. I was really happy that Vivian randomly got me a bag of medium roast and also the mug, because I wanted a mug, but I was like, I can't justify the expense right now. But yeah. Oh good, I was wondering if I had my iced tea. I used to make iced tea in a fairly complicated, well, not complicated, but just like more labor intensive way, where you have to boil some tea bags, I guess leaves too, but just in my case, just boil some tea bags on the stove in a pot, then add more, then like steep them, and then add more water. But I found out from someone, actually from a lovely channel called Rai Rai McGuy. Sorry for stuttering on your name. I often stutter the worst times. And just in general. It's not intentional when I stutter. But anyway, there's this lovely floss tube channel. I'll link it here. But we were talking in the comments, and I found out from him that it works just as well to just put some tea bags in a pitcher of cool water, and you just steep that for a few hours. You'll want to take the tea bags out after a while, or it gets really strong. But it works, and it's harder to add sugar in if you want sweet tea, because sugar it dissolves a lot better in hot water. But I find that personally I don't mind, although if I wanted it more sweet, I could just add honey or some other more liquidy sweetener. So it's been so nice to have an alternative to just diet soda, which is what my dad usually drinks. And like I don't usually enjoy, like I do drink a lot of water and coffee, but I kind of want something other than water a lot of times, especially if when I'm drinking water with food, it just makes the food taste weird and watery. I don't know why, but so like I need to have something that's not water to drink with a meal. But sometimes I'm like, not. I mean, I'll drink diet soda because it's there, but if I have the choice, I mean, if I chose to drink diet soda, that's fine. No shame there. But if I have the choice and the energy, a lot of times I prefer iced tea. So because it's almost as quenching as just water, but it's a little bit more flavored, so it's nice. So, right, I'm not sure I'm gonna show and tell a whole lot this episode, because I'm just really tired. um, I'm doing this episode tonight because I was like, I really need something to focus on that isn't just wondering when the people I'm trying to communicate with will get back to me. There's an ongoing thing that it will be really good for me when it's resolved, but right now we're in the stage where I'm just waiting for other people to do something, and I don't know what they're supposed to do or when, and they're not doing a very good job of keeping me updated, which is really hard because every day counts, I feel like, in the situation where I am. And in some ways, every day is extremely hard. So I will I will be open enough to say that, but as you know, I'm usually pretty wary about how much I share, but probably when I move out, with appropriate trigger warnings and stuff. I would like to be more open about it. But yeah, that's why I'm tired, because it's just really tiring. Not, I mean, that sounds like a tautology, but like, just emotionally, there's just kind of a crushing weight to it. But I really hope that it will be resolved and I'll be able to move out soon. Yeah, so what are some things that I do want to talk about that kind of lift my spirits? That's kind of the idea of this episode. So I had a birthday last month in August, on the 21st. So I'm 32 now, and I just happened to see something that made me think of a previous birthday, so I'll tell that story. Well, hopefully you can see pretty much what this owl pendant is. It's a silver pendant with an owl on a branch carved into it. I got it at a local pagan bookstore on my birthday. And this was the first birthday after I had found out Gwyn's name. My patron god. I'm just gonna talk as if you know who that is and the backstory of that. But anyway, I was in that intense, like, burst of new energy when I first met him, and it's a lot like what they call the NRE, or new relationship energy in the poly community. Except it's a god in this case, and it has other layers, but also I am a god spouse, so like it did have that layer too. So, but it was just like kind of terrifying, but also wonderful, like just really intense to connect with this deity. And kind of I had known him before, but now I knew him by a name that went way back, because I knew him as at least part of the horned part of the some faces of the horned god when I was Wiccan, and I always wondered if there was any, like, I know that Wicca is a fairly new religion, but I felt like the gods were really old. They were just coming to us in a new way, and my horned god, who I loved so much, was just, I was like, I don't know your name, but I feel like you're really old, and I wish I could know your name, but there's no name that I can think of that fits you from other, like, older polytheist, just in case I have to edit my sister's voice out. Anyway, there's no name that I know that fits you. I was talking to the horned god from older polytheist traditions. In the future, when I say faith or path, think think the word I just said, because it's extremely hard to say. So I'm just going to substitute. I'm going to let you know now. I'm going to substitute that word, as I often do, as a common stuttering practice, coping mechanism. But so then I finally connected with the idea that, or the realization, oh, this is Gwyn from the, at least in Wales, that's like he's known as Gwyn. I'm not trying to say that all gods are the horned god, just like my horned god was the horned god, but he was also Gwyn. And I know him by some other names too. But so there was just this really intense connection. I didn't fully understand, but I felt it very strongly. And so by my birthday, I had decided, it had been a few weeks, and I had decided by then to dedicate myself to him that Halloween. I actually decided to dedicate myself to him 13 days after we kind of met, as in I found out his name, because I just knew. Sometimes you just know. And my birthday was a couple weeks after that, so I hadn't told anyone, because I wasn't going to tell anyone until after I had done it, because for reasons I won't get into here, like it was the right choice for me at that time to keep my own counsel on that and make sure that it was just my choice, and no one could say, hey, I don't think that's a good idea, or like, oh, I'm not sure that you're smart enough, or like, I mean, the people I'm thinking of would not have been giving me advice in good faith to warn me away from something. It wasn't like a friendly word of warning. It was more like trying to make sure I didn't do something they didn't approve of. So in my case, it was the right decision to to keep it to myself and make sure that it was what I wanted without any outside in influence. So this next part's kind of sad. I had come to my parents' town where I live now, which was about an hour away by train. Well, more than an hour, but I regularly traveled by train from the place where I lived with my ex to where my parents lived or live. And I did that on my birthday because I knew by then that my ex was not going to prioritize my birthday, so I didn't want to even try. Like they had kind of trained me by that point that my birthday was not important to them, so I was like, well, I don't want to have an argument about it because they're really scary when they get mad, so I'm just gonna go have dinner at Denny's with my parents, and that was fun. I do like Denny's, but it was just kind of sad, and I'm glad I'm not in that situation anymore, and very soon I'll be in a much better situation with people that I know will prioritize the days that are special to me. And speaking of, I love pendants, like witchy pagan pendants, and you wouldn't know it from my current style, but I used to wear like at least 3 of them at all times. I have a whole bunch off screen here. but some of them need new cords and stuff. Like this has a leather, like a black leather cord, I think, but I feel like I probably wore it in the shower or just like had it against my skin a lot, and it's just not in good shape right now, so I'm gonna redo the cord. But I would like to wear this again, this owl pendant. But anyway, I bought the pendant at this store because I was browsing there. It was a place where I often went, and I asked my parents if they could meet me there, or pick me up from there, because I could just go to the store from the train station. It was just a few blocks, and then we could go on to Denny's. Not sponsored. I do love pancakes, but so I was having a hard time finding a pendant that fit my new understanding of my relationship with Gwyn, but I really wanted something that would fit. And so I asked him, okay, so what should I get? And there was, I think, like, there was a series of pendants that was like Celtic Raven, Celtic Owl, this, that. And so I actually asked him, should I get the Celtic Raven or the Celtic Owl? Because he is connected with both of those birds, as I knew from the lore. And I'm actually more connected with ravens, in the past at least, than owls. So I thought that it might make more sense to just get the raven, but then he actually said owl. And so I got the owl, and just, it was kind of, the fact that I used my money to buy it was kind of a birthday present to me, from me. But I think that he still gave me a gift in the form of this pendant, because he gave me the meaning of it after I bought it, and also just giving me the permission and blessing to use this symbol in regards to me and him. So he reminded me that the reason we know about the owl being associated with him is this one poem that I've mentioned before. Dyllian, I think, the owl, by a medieval Welsh poet, David ap Gwilym, I think. I'll try to put it on screen if I can. But he complains several times about different things that are preventing him from meeting his current lady love, and that's like the most I know about his poems, because when he complains about these things, he attributes them to Gwyn, which is really funny to me. Just like he has, like, I'm just imagining someone who's like, we have a feud, you are my arch nemesis, and the other person's just like, dude, I'm just over here chilling. Which is how I imagine Gwyn responding. But yeah, there, in this poem, he's talking about how the owl won't let him sleep at night, which is valid. I mean, owls are quite loud, and at one point he's like, "Oh, the crazy owl. She is the bird of Gwyn ap Nudd," and so one of my friends and fellow Gwyn devotees has this whole like gnosis about the owl, or as we call her, crazy owl, as one of Gwyn's attendants. So that became really important in my understanding too, because Gwyn told me that he wanted me to get the owl because I was also his bird, kind of like the owl. Like I was his owl in a way. Well, not in a way, but just like sometimes it's hard to describe kind of pagan concepts and not knowing if someone has the background to know what you mean, but yeah, spiritually speaking, I was his owl, if that makes sense. And and the amazing gift, I think, in that gnosis that he gave me, or that knowing, was that um he doesn't mind if I'm crazy. Whereas in my old church, this specific church um had me believing, or at least they wanted me to believe, that being anxious or depressed was a sin against God. Whereas my new God not only didn't mind and had, crazy beings as part of his attendance, but he's also sometimes the reason people go crazy. Like in both in my gnosis and in the lore, sometimes people who are associated with him are driven mad, and it's often like there's an initiatory aspect, I feel like, and also like he's associated with those ecstatic states, kind of like a lot like a lot like Dionysus, actually. Just the madness and the wisdom and poetry and joy and inspiration, and yeah, all of that, the dancing and the drums, um the chanting and the trances, not trances, but also trans people, the which I'm one of, and I find that Gwyn seems to love us very much, and I get a lot of gender fluid vibes from him. So yeah. So anyway, I received this amazing gnosis insight from him, and then my parents come and pick me up to go to Denny's, and I'm like, well, I can't really tell them about this, but I'm really happy about this. Like, I'm overjoyed with this new pendant I have, and what it means with my God, whose name I now know, and I can't really tell anyone, but I'm just so happy. And in the bathroom, I remember looking at myself in the mirror, looking at the pendant and going, she is the burb. I was saying burb instead of bird, and I was like, she is the bird of Gwyn. I was saying the first bit of it to the tune of, I think, the Addams Family soundtrack for some reason. Just like she is the burb, because I was just really excited. So yeah, that's my owl story. It's kind of exciting that I get to just share some Gwyn stories this time. I think that's what I needed to do, and we have time for another one. So so um we're also coming up on another cool anniversary of mine in about a week, I think, which is the third the third year of me becoming Gwyn's Awenydd, or inspired one. He was the one who initiated me onto that path. It's a path focused in the Welsh or Brythonic tradition. I said it that time. And so, like, part of my path is firmly still very Welsh. I'm not Welsh myself, but like it's important to me that I'm honoring and anchoring the Awenydd identity in that path, so that I don't take it out of context. And for that reason, I want to make learning Welsh a lifelong thing. I've been putting it on hold for right now because I need to focus on getting to a safe place. But yeah, the first year I was with Gwyn, I went through a lot of the Duolingo Welsh course, and that was part of my um, devotional practice for him. And so I back then I didn't know anyone else who knew him, and it's so great that I have so many friends who know him now and know of him, and a lot of it is through me, not all of it, but back then I was just really I just felt really alone, and there was only one person who I knew of as his devotee. That happened to be my current friend. I think I mentioned her before in this episode. Lorna Smithers, and her blog was a big part in how I figured out who I was talking to, because he'd been trying to get me to realize that name fit who he was for a long time, but I didn't. For various reasons, I was kind of nervous about that particular name until I realized, no, wait, it's him. Oh, damn it! Like, I was wrong about him, and also, oh shit. But yeah, so there can definitely be an oh shit moment when you meet Gwyn, even if it's a good meeting. He's kind of intense. And so anyway, I knew that she was she identified as an Awenydd, and that's the only place I had heard this word. And at first I was like, well, that's cool, but I don't think I want to be one of those for him. But at that time I was like, any potential thing that someone could be for him, I was like, well, I would consider that. I would consider this and that. I wasn't sure where I wanted to go in my path of devotion to him, but I knew that I wanted to go as far as I could with him, and so I was just distracted because someone came down the stairs. But anyway, so I was kind of worried at first, as with that and with several other things, that it would look like I was copying her, because she's the only other one that I knew who was on this kind of path. And I realized since then that that's not how it works, because similar gods tend to, or the same god might lead different people on similar paths, and also any matured devotee will understand that it's not up to them whether their god is doing something similar with someone else. And I mean, I've and with this person, I did not have to worry at all. Like she's been very um su- supportive of my path, and it's been really awesome building a friendship with her and talking about our shared and different experiences with Gwyn. Speaking of, check out the pagan or the monastery of Anun site if you want to get closer to the Brythonic, specifically Anuvian gods, like of the otherworld and the deep, and you have um, monastic in inclinations. That's a project that we're starting now. Um, I'll try to put the website down below. And so anyway, for several weeks I was gradually thinking, I kind of do want to be his Awenydd, but I I don't know if that's a thing. I kept kind of jokingly asking him, "Hey, can I be this?" And then one night I was in my room and I just kind of jokingly asked him, and it was in like the first week of September, and then he said, "So you keep asking me, um, um, do you want to be that? Like we can do that right here, right now." And I was like, "Wait, really?" And even back then, I was starting to understand that there were some things that even if I was scared or shy, I knew I had to listen to my heart and just kind of go with what my gut said. And I was like, yeah, this is something that I need to do. So um, I don't feel like getting into the whole thing, but um, the the initiation had me kind of challenge some of my shyness and worry about what people would think, which I still had even if I was alone in my room, and learning to put my trust in Gwyn um, over what people in my life would think, which turned out to be much more important than I realized, because the people in my life that I was so worried about were more, much more, much more dangerous to me than they seemed at first. But so he um in, um initiated me as his Awenydd, and then I was like, "This is awesome. What the heck do I do now? What does this mean?" So I found the Awenak Awenydd website and read all the articles there, and then I found the Facebook group, and that's how I joined that group. I'm not super active in it anymore because several of the friends that I had there have left, and it has memories of this one friend who has ended their friendship with me for reasons I won't get into, but I don't really feel like I can be in that group right now. But I do still have many of the friends, the close friends that I gained there, and I talk to them in email and the Discord and other places now. So it's really cool that I got access to a community of people who knew what I was talking about with Gwyn and becoming his Awenydd, and just other things like that. Like I finally got a people who got it, which I just needed so desperately. And now I have a lot of people who can talk to me about either my path or very similar paths and like similar polytheist and spirit worker type of ideas. Well, I don't think I ever said what an Awenydd actually is. My definition, besides like it kind of literally means person in person inspired, since it's related to the word Awen, or the Welsh word for inspiration. But in the context in which I use it, in sort of the modern Brythonic polytheist type of meaning, it's spirit worker and divinely inspired poet, kind of both. There is a related term that a lot of people use, shaman. I don't like to use that term because it's actually from a closed group. So if I'm not talking about a specific either closed or open path that has its own term, then I just use this spirit worker as a good catch-all. But on at least on the Welsh and Brythonic side of my path, I do have a term that I can use, which is Awenydd. And for me, I feel like witch is similar, or like it's not exactly the same, but it's also a kind of a path name. So I also do identify as a witch. And on the Minoan side, the Vicaro path is kind of like that as well. Not exactly, but it's like it's a culturally specific path that has its own name, and that's also an open, at least the probably all forms of modern day Minoan polytheism are open because it's not a living culture. But so some of them may have their own so some of them may be more on the initiatory. But in any case, the one that I practice, which has the specific name of modern Minoan paganism, is open. And I mean, I should clarify, being a Vicaro, it's not something I want to gatekeep in any way, but it is something that the gods kind of have to ask you to do. So I'm not in charge of whether or not you or anyone else is on that path. I would love to see more of us modern day pagan monks. I'm just gonna call them that because the V word is hard to say. But even though that's more broad than what I actually mean. Stuttering is not fun sometimes, or ever. But so yeah. Yeah, I would love to see more of us. I'm not in charge of whether or when that happens. So, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to say. Well, I'll give time for a goat moment here. Thank you, Banros. I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos about goats grazing land, which is really cute. So it's it's helping a lot just take my mind off things. And there is one sewing related thing that I will show you. I made a sort of a decoration for one of my kilts that I'm working on for Sun Mom, as I call her, Inanna. This is some. It it might look crocheted or braided, but it's actually cordage. I used several different really bright sky blue cords of different shades of blue and different levels of sparkle and shine, and they're holding a cross section of a geode kind of. It's deep blue with a white spot in the center and has gold around the edges. And I found this charm, and it's like a couple inches tall and an inch across at least. Like it's wide. It's wide and flat, kind of. It's huge. But I found it just on the floor somewhere in my house, and I asked if anyone would mind if I had it, and they didn't, obviously. But I find a lot of my things, my crafting supplies that I end up using for Inanna, just randomly in my house somewhere. A lot of times, a lot of them came to me. I mean, now I've actually bought a lot of things I'm going to use for her, but a lot of the like odds and ends came to me before I knew who she was. I was just like, I don't know why I need all this blue and gold stuff, but I do. I need more shinies, and so yeah, that's going to be a tassel for my newest kilt. I'm making. I say kilt, but like it's the style of garment that guys wore in ancient Minoan times. So I have kilts for several different deities that I'm close to, and I also just made a couple of casual ones that I can wear around the house because it's so much easier sometimes to just wear that style of garment when it's hot. And even just with rolling around my waist, like it's a rectangle and you just kind of roll it like a towel, it stays on surprisingly well. Like I didn't feel worried that it would fall off. Well, maybe a bit, but like it didn't. It was fine, which is important because like you don't want your kilt to fall off in most situations. Anyway, I think I'll let you go now. So thank you for hanging around with me in the Gothic Grotto, and let's dance again at the next midnight.